Hey, it's office hours and we're open. Josh Tawad, our principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland, ISD, Garland, USA, ready for a 20-minute problem-solving show with real-life scenarios. What would you do with a scenario we're about to present? But you know what? Let's go around our leadership table and introduce each one of our awesome leaders. Right next to me, this guy.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Central Hicks. I am a second-year assistant principal at Liberty Hill Middle School in Killeen, Texas. Excited to be here. Looking forward to a great evening.
Awesome, Central. Welcome to the show. Dean Packard, the proud principal of Charlton Middle School in Charlton, Massachusetts, one of the co-founders of Unlock the Middle, and we are ready and able to go tonight at office hours. So let me kick it over to my other side, this side, and welcome.
Hi, my name is Dru and Ruenna. I'm an assistant principal at Austin High School in El Paso, Texas. This is my 13th year in education, 6th year being an assistant principal. I was named Region 19 Assistant Principal of the Year, so I'm pretty proud of that. And I'm glad to be here tonight with you guys.
We are in the presence of excellence from the assistant principal world, Josh Tovar. How about that? We are going to learn tonight, baby. Let's go.
We're going to get started. Here we go. Some mind-provoking thought question. Number one, ready? Ruenna, ready?
No.
Oreos or chocolate chip cookies?
Oh, with milk or without?
Without milk.
Ooh.
It has to be the chocolate chip then.
Why?
Because Oreos just go better with milk.
Dean Packard. Oreos or chocolate chip cookies?
Oreos, double stuff Oreos all day long.
Central.
Oreos. Got to go with Dean on that one. Got the dip, got the cream in the middle. Got to have the Oreos. No milk. Got to have Oreos.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer. Oreo, ladies and gentlemen. Oreo cookies is the right answer on the show of office hours. All right. Question number two is not either or. I want you to go into your thought. EMO, SEL, was in a conference last 2 days with focusing on loving everybody. So I want you to tell me, what do you wear that is something close to your heart that you wear daily to work? Central.
Whoa. Something I wear every day that's close to my heart. I would say my t-shirt, but that doesn't count. My glasses. I think it would have to be my glasses. And the reason why is because what?
Why?
Glasses. Because now I can see. At some point, I got older and I realized I couldn't see anymore. And that really meant something to me because it was a change in age and it was my becoming an older man. So that means something to me.
All right. I like how that went. Dean Packard.
I'm going to go with the suit coat. Just makes me feel complete as a guy, and I'm doing my job here and just walking around and just feeling complete.
Ruenna.
I have to go with my lanyard because it's a reminder of where I've been and where I'm going, right? So it has my title, and it just reminds me every day of why I do what I do. And so I'd have to go with my lanyard.
And I like to say that I like wearing my tie clip that I earned after boot camp, and I still have it.
Wow.
I still have the same tie clip when I graduated from Marine Corps boot camp, and it reminds me of where I was, what I became, and what I need to keep on doing to help kids in our profession. Always moving forward and thinking of the past, which doesn't define us, but making sure that we move forward for that. That's
Amen.
what my answer is. Okay. Out there, everybody in social media, this is a real world scenario. Leaders, I'm going to read it to you, even though you already got it, but our listeners do not know. Early in the morning, you had a meeting with 8 softball parents, and that meeting was over an hour talking with you about the softball coach and what she is doing with the cookie dough fundraiser money. They say that the coach doesn't ask for parent input, yet they're the ones that have to sell the cookie dough. They want you to set up a meeting with the coach and find out what she is purchasing with that cookie dough fundraiser money. That same day after lunch, the softball coach calls you on your cell and tells you that she has an emergency and needs to meet with you ASAP. She catches up with you out on the football field as you're telling kids to not be late after lunch. She tells you that she raised over $300 in concessions the previous night. She had left the money locked up in her room, and when she went to work, the money was gone. What do you do, Ruenna?
I mean, you first initially have to start that investigation, right? She said go based on what I guess the softball coach is saying, her professionalism. I'm as an assistant principal, as a principal, you would hope that you have that relationship with your teacher, your coaches to where you can tell, right? You know what if they're panicking, you know if it's really in dire need. And so initially just going based on that, starting with that investigation, trying to backtrack, go through all the realms of cameras, were there cameras there, and just see if we can find that. Then we would have to, I guess, break it down to the concern of the parents and what the parents have been, you know, concerned with of where this money is going. They're raising all this money, and where is this money going? So I think you would have to open that up as well, and have a conversation with the coach in regards to that, when you're looking into the whole situation. Um, Let me see what else. I think you would really have to um, have those communication skills and be able to openly talk with those parents and be able to discuss those critical conversations with the parents and the coach. Because if the parents are concerned, the coach needs to know about it and also be able to um, tell her side of the story, right? So you want to definitely get each side of the story to make
Mhm.
sure that is very clear and accurate.
Central?
All right, so Rowena, thank you because you kind of hit a whole lot of things like out the park with that. And I think one of the things I think about is okay, if the coach had $300 and it was in the room, as an assistant principal, I'm going to talk to my principal first. I'm going to talk to my principal and the athletic director, and say, okay, this happened. This is what the coach said she has, and now the money's gone. And then because we have to now send that up the chain toward the district level to let them know because money has been misplaced, it's gone. And this money, there's now district money through the school, and through the district, et cetera. So now we got to figure that part out. And I want to talk to them so they can begin that part of the investigation. And then we're going to definitely, as Ruenna said, pull those cameras and see who went in and out of that room and what happens. Does that mean we have to talk to and interview the custodial staff, what have you? But again, that takes that next level at the district level and find out who's going to get involved with that situation there. I'm going to also end the conversation with the coach and go, okay, why are you keeping money in your room? And is this a regular practice? Because we need to find out if you're doing this, why was it there to begin with? Because there's no reason for you to have you would literally walk from the concession stand all the way to your classroom or all the way to your office, what have you, and you put $300 in there for what? What were you thinking? And also have that real conversation and say, well, if nothing comes of this, you may have to pay this back and your job, et cetera. So let's really look at the whole picture when we're talking about this, because we need to make sure that you truly understand what's going on. Um, and then again, we have to feel that part of it out. And again, the principal's involved now. So I'm taking, back seat, side seat role and asking the principal, what do you need me to do to continue this investigation? Because I was just told that this happened. This is a little bit above me because of what it concerns, but I'm going to still make sure that I'm in the loop and finding out and helping out as much as possible. With the part with the parents, the first thing I think about is, okay, parents, thank you very much, but you don't always have a say in everything that gets purchased by the program. We appreciate your assistance, but this isn't necessarily your lane. So in the course of our meeting, that's kind of what we're talking about. And I understand that you have concerns, but the coach gets an opportunity to choose. And as long as the coach isn't buying, cars and furs and, all that kind of crazy stuff and going for, visits and dinners and all that, then as long as it's helping the kids and they can show the receipts for it, then it's going to be up to the coach's decision. However, you do have a voice as a parent, and I want you to be able to exercise your voice. And if you don't feel like you're being heard by the coach, then let's sit down and let's all talk. But understand, that the coach is going to do what's best for the program. That's why they're the coach and you're the parent. Now, if you want more buy-in, and that's probably something I wouldn't say, but that's club side, that's club side, softball. We're in a whole different realm then because you're paying for this. So we can have that meeting, but that meeting is going to be put off for a minute until I hear from my principal and say, okay, when do we need to set up this meeting? Because we got to take care of number one, which is you lost $300, and that's a really big problem that you took to your room. That's like you're going to get fired kind of thing.
Dean.
Listen, I want to say kudos to our assistant principals with navigating a roadmap for us right here, because they hit on a lot of salient points. There's no doubt about it. But I'll tell you, in my building, quite frankly, there are no fundraisers without my approval. Okay, first and foremost, it just doesn't happen. They're not arbitrary in any capacity, and they're clearly identified on what the purpose is for any fundraiser, and that is transparent to all parties involved. And quite frankly, we're fortunate to be in a district where our budget does support the majority of things that our kids do. But we're also realists, and we know that money needs to be raised to do some things outside of the general area. I will say, in Central, you did a really good job articulating this out. $300, or let's step back for a second. Never do I allow any teacher to keep money in their desk, in their rooms, at any capacity, at any time. At the end of the day, you are solely responsible for any funds that you are collecting in a public school for any type of initiative. And there is no, it's lost. There just isn't. That can't happen. Okay. So if people understand the systems that are in place prior to that happening, we don't go down that road whatsoever. As for the voice of the parents, 100% agree. I would want to hear exactly what their concerns are. But if we did our job front loading with being transparent, they wouldn't have those type of questions in the end. So again, it seems like the scenario is a little bit fly by night. And I would say that maybe that scenario is something that, we've all come up against. But as our careers have moved forward in the roles of principalships, hopefully it's far less now than ever before, because at the end of the day, those systems need to be in place. So again, there would be some very difficult conversations, but some very clear conversations for information to be gathered from that staff member as to why and how everything transpired.
The only thing that I would add to everything, that's a great, all the ideas is I would also quickly make a police report. I will get that information report.
Of course. Yeah, that's a great point.
You have to make that, because you know what? In the end, someone's going to be held accountable for that.
Yeah, great point.
And I'm sure that every district, Central, I know for sure Ruenna, Dean over there in Massachusetts, I know that every district tells you, you do not hold money. And administration creates a policy to where you need to store it after whatever you're selling, the nachos or the soft drinks, whatever you're doing, that at the end you turn that money in so that you don't find yourself in the situation. And if that person chose to find themselves in a situation, I think a lot of us have gone through this. We know that, and it's happened. We've seen it in the news. I'm not casting dispersions on anybody, but people do take money.
Yeah.
Educators have been caught taking money. And so in a situation like that, that's why you need to make sure that you dot your I's, cross your T's, and making sure that you do that police report and you keep it for your records as an administrator during your investigation, like Ruenna had just told us. That's part of the information. Now, how would you incorporate this during your investigation, Ruenna, in regards to the money? How do you find out if there was $300?
So, I mean, that goes back to what Mr. Packard had also said, like the protocols, the different things in place that, as a principal, he puts in place for his, like as an expectation from anyone selling anything. And so you would hope that there's a checks and balances thing, that there's an itemized sheet that they can cross-reference of what was sold, what wasn't sold, and then you go from there.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's the register that has to be accompanied with the money, whether they're checks, it's cash or whatnot. 100% correct. And the one thing that I left out that I want to just say is we have a safe in our central office, and all that stuff goes through one secretary who's in charge of that safe along with me, and then we know where that money goes each and every day.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we use is the quote unquote buddy system. Is that if someone is taking the money as an assistant principal, I'm at the game or the concessions as well. And then we kind of count and put it together and put it in the safe. So that way there's a checks and balance, and one person isn't in charge of it all by themselves.
Exactly.
And you know what I just like to add in regards to the parent concern of what the coach's vision is for the fundraising? I think I 100% agree with Central Hicks, and that's one of the things that we kind of talked about this in last version of Office Hours, that you as the administrator need to be there at the start of the season, and you need to establish expectations for everybody, not only the coach, whatever the coach is, but also for the parents in regards to this is your role, this is what you have a right to say, and this is what you don't. You cannot talk to me about playing time. You cannot talk to me about
Mm-hmm.
positions. You cannot talk to me about
Mm-hmm.
if it's a physical, verbal abuse of your child. You could talk to me, but not about what the coach is purchasing for this, for that, for that. Because you know what? As the administration, you also need to put the person that you chose as
Mm-hmm.
the head coach, and you need to trust them, as I think Central said, for their professionalism to do what's in the best interest of the kids,
Yes.
of the program, and of the campus. So it's crucial that as the administration, we're there at the very beginning of the season, setting expectations for all parties involved. Dean?
I love that, man. You're right on. And I'll tell you what, the clearer you are, the less issues you have down the road. We talk about systems in place all the time and why those are important. And not only for a soccer coach, but for any coach. And that comes from a really strong athletic director and a really strong administration. So again, these are things that I think we've been bit on before, but I'll tell you, you learn from them and you try not to get yourself into those situations at any time.
So
Yes,
based
sir.
on this, in closing, based on the scenarios presented, parent concerns about coaches, sponsors holding money or dealing with money, what advice do you have to give to both sets or either or, Rena?
Um, ultimately, I mean, that's a no-no, right? Coaches, you do not hold on to money. That is what we as
Mm-hmm.
administrators are there for at these games, for duty. We are there to be able to I'm sorry, if we're doing the buddy system, then
Mm-hmm.
you and I can go into the office, into the vault, wherever we need to do to go ahead and stash that money. But it is a no-no for any coach to take, or any teacher for that matter, to take and keep money left in their room.
Advice, Central.
Yes, establish guidelines. Establish guidelines as we talked about for your parents. Establish guidelines for your coaches. Establish guidelines for the money and the exchange of the money. What does that actually look like? What are the procedures and the processes that are in place to make sure that nobody gets caught up? And if somebody by chance decides to do something a little shady, how do we catch them up front? How do we make sure that doesn't happen? And then for the parents, what's their way of communication? How do they know that they can get in contact with the coach or the whomever it happens to be that they have problems with? What does that line of communication look like, and what are their lines? You at certain games, we're not talking after the games, etc. Make sure that those things are known up front, so that way we don't have any issues moving forward. And if we do have issues, what is the system to be able to address those issues so that we don't have those things continue to crop up?
Dean?
In public education, we face this all the time with funding decreases and not being able to supply adequate funding for sports and other things. Coaches have to be creative. But I'll tell you what, Josh, and you said this earlier, when I hire coaches, I am putting my trust in those coaches to be the most, have a highest level of integrity to do what's best for kids. There's no doubt about that. And with that being said, it's an autocratic style of opportunity. And I always say,
Mm-hmm.
when you hire a coach, you have to believe in that coach has all the tools to be successful and to do what's right by everybody that's on their teams. So now you think about that for a second, and that's unlike sometimes like it is in the classroom, because you know what? The autocratic part of coaching is different than teaching. It just is. And I'm going to say everything all tail is all what's in the best interest of kids. But philosophy is philosophy. We want coaches that are educators, that are smart, that are going to communicate, and they're going to have that
Mm-hmm.
subscribe to that overall roadmap of success within districts. And that's what's important. So good, strong districts have all those things in place right now. So it's always good. So that I would just say, follow your heart and make sure you put good people in there that are going to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, if your child chooses to be in a sport or an event, support the sponsor. Unless they're being
Mm-hmm.
verbally abusive, unless they're being duly unjust, and they're violating the contract that they presented to start a school year, please do not be negative in the car, at home, during game
Ooh.
time against that
Oh yeah.
coach, that sponsor, because that toxicity goes into the player's brain. And that's why you chose to have your son or daughter in that campus program, whatever it might be. Be a part of the solution, not part of the problem, irregardless of what your philosophy is, because we all entrusted one adult and their sub coaches to support your child. And we all need to work together as a triangle, equal solid shapes and sizes to support a successful program. And number two, coaches, don't do something that comes across as gray or shady. Simple. Be open, as we talked about, transparent. Put it all in. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen.
Yes,
If
sir.
it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And
Exactly.
that's my final say, because you know what? Office hours are now closed. 20 minutes. Don't forget to join us for the flagship show on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, with part 2 of John Coripo joining us. Part 2, flagship, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you. Office hours are now closed.
Guys, thank you so much. Great discussion as
You're
always.
welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great week, everybody.
Good meeting you, Ruenna.
Good meeting you all. Bye. See you on
Thank
Twitter.